What did I tell you?
About the hotel?
Oh, oh, when I was married to Larry,
Yep.
it was during World War II, and he was in the Army, and he was overseas, and my in-laws owned the hotel between 37th and 38th and Madison Avenue, and my parents lived in the same hotel on the 14th floor, and so it was very wonderful that I had both my parents and my in-laws in the same building, and I lived in the apartment with my in-laws because it was larger, and it was very convenient. It was on between 37th and 38th and Madison Avenue in New York City. It was perfect.
What's the hotel
because
called?
It was near all of the good museums that I adored because I was an artist and I loved the museums, and it was within walking distance to Central Park and the lake and Manhattan and Broadway and theater and movies and glamour. So I was very fortunate. And then the war was over, and Larry came home. I will never forget, we were separated about a year and a half, and of course, being a teenager, I missed him terribly. But I was very lucky because I lived with my in-laws, and my parents were in the same building, and it was like in the middle of Manhattan. It was very glamorous and very beautiful. And then Larry came home.
What was the hotel called?
What?
What was the hotel called?
The Duane Hotel. It was next door to another big hotel called the Midston, M-I-D-S-T-O-N, Midston House Hotel. And it was one block off Fifth Avenue where you had Saks and Bergdorf's and Central Park and the Bowery and everything that was glamorous and beautiful in Manhattan. So I was very lucky, and I missed Larry very much.
And then what happened when Larry came home?
What?
What happened when Larry came home?
I was ecstatic. I was so happy. What happened was, we knew that the boat had landed because he called. He was in New York, and he was being, what it was called, mustered out. The Army was letting him go on what was called leave, vacation. He wasn't dismissed from the Army yet. He was still in the Army. And so it was very exciting for me. And I hadn't seen him for a year and a half. And when you're a teenager and you're separated from your love, it was like heaven. You know, it was like the sun was shining again. So the in-laws had this beautiful apartment, and my parents had a beautiful apartment in the same building. But my parents lived in the penthouse because it was their hotel. And so we left the door open. So when Larry arrived, he could tell the elevator man, penthouse, because that's what you had to tell him. So he would know where to stop the elevator for you. And we left the door open, and it was dinner time. So my in-laws had the housekeeper serve dinner, and we were in the dining room having dinner, and the door was open. And I'm having dinner. Picture this, the three of us. And I turn around, and I look, and my husband, after a year and a half, is standing in the doorway.
Oh. Oh.
And of course I fell into his arms. And I said, we're going down to my parents' apartment. We'll be up in a half hour. I couldn't wait to be alone with him for 5 minutes. It was so beautiful. My eyes are tearing because it was so beautiful. It was the happiest day of my life. And he came home. And he was on D-Day on Normandy Beach. And he was a lieutenant. He was an officer. I wouldn't go out with a non-com. That was a non-commissioned officer. You know, a PFC is a private. No, he was an officer. So it was like, it was very beautiful. Perfect, perfect.